Imagine, it's the early 1920s. Bacteria has been discovered, and thanks to past years' research, we now know that most bacteria are responsible for the infections and illnesses that occur. Unfortunately, we don't know how to combat these bacterial infections. And, well, you get one of these bacterial infections, and since we didn't know anything, you die. Flash forward to today, though. You get the same bacterial infection, you go to the doctor. He prescribes you some antibiotics, you start taking them, and you feel better. So, who do we thank for these antibiotics? The answer is Alexander Fleming. In 1928, Alexander Fleming was looking for a wonder drug to combat bacterial infections. At this time, no known way of killing bacteria was found that was safe for the human body. So, Fleming had been growing cultures and cultures of bacteria on petri dishes. He had stacks and stacks, and unfortunately they became contaminated, and so Fleming had to get rid of all of them. He threw them in a Lysol bath, and since there was so much, not all of them reached the Lysol bath and remained contaminated. This happened to be a good thing. Weeks go by, and one of Fleming's old assistant comes in, and Fleming gives him a hard time, trying to make him feel bad that he left. So he shows him all the petri dishes that he's been dealing with, and Fleming notices some mold growing on some of the petri dishes. And this mold caught his eye for one reason only. It was killing the bacteria on those dishes. This was the thing Fleming had been looking for. Now, Fleming wanted to know what it was. What was this mold? So, conveniently, in the floor right below him was a mold expert, C.J. La Touche. And C.J. La Touche came up to Fleming's lab one day and took a look at this mold, and he knew right away what it was. It was penicillium. So, now Fleming knew what it was and what it did. He had two questions though. One, how? How did this mold get there? Well, it was believed that some of La Touche's mold had gone airborne and traveled all the way up into Fleming's lab and landed right on the petri dishes and was able to grow. So, the other question was, how could he make this mold into a usable drug that would be safe for humans? Unfortunately, Fleming, brilliant as he was, didn't have a chemical understanding of how to break down that mold into a drug. So, instead he wrote documents of his findings, and they sat. 12 years go by. World War II. People are feverishly looking for ways to combat bacterial infections because it's a war and infections are occurring. Two Oxford scientists by the names of Howard Florey and Ernst Chain decided to take up on this task of finding a way to combat these bacterial infections. The first thing they did was go through some old documents to try and maybe find something that maybe was missed. They happened upon Fleming's documents, and they found penicillium. Now, these guys were chem majors. They knew how to break down this mold, and they were able to convert it into a usable drug that we know now today to be penicillin. The finding of penicillin has led to numerous antibiotics that we use today, and it's the reason why we're all alive. Thank you.